Despite what my nationality may say about me, I'm actually not good at fighting games. I failed you! But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy them. Yeah, I'm no pro. I'm not even remotely competent. Except for Smash Bros, but I kinda hate competitive Smash Bros. Still, if someone invites me to play a fighting game, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna try it. Even though I'm not an expert or anything, fighting games have a ton of appeal for me. I love how each one does a genuine effort to distinguish itself from the competition, from the overall feel, the mechanics, and gameplay styles. But the number one thing that always draws me to play a fighting game is the roster. I love seeing so much diversity, so many unique references to different cultures and fighting styles, all while each character has its own unique personality. So I thought, why don't I talk about my favorite Street Fighter characters? After all, this is one of the most important fighting game series out there, and it was also one of the first I ever played. So, do you wanna know what a casual player thinks about this massive cast of characters? Then let's get to it! This is the coolest Street Fighter characters, ranked by someone who doesn't play fighting games.
It's super dynamic looking time!
This is mostly my Mexican bias speaking out for me, but hey, can you blame me? How do you expect me to not look at El Fuerte and not love this guy? I know T-Hawk is also Mexican, but El Fuerte resonates with me more. He's a Mexican luchador who travels the world fighting people to perfect his cooking skills. His design is so simple, but I think it gets the job done. Because you can give one glimpse at him and say, oh yeah, that's how half of Mexico looks like. The other half looks like a Mingo. I'm aware El Fuerte is not exactly a popular character. If anything, I know he's mostly despised because he's so complex to play, but also he's so annoying to fight against. I played as him, I've seen gameplay clips and tournament plays, and I can tell how anxiety-inducing he can be due to how fast and unpredictable he can be, how he can close the distance in the blink of an eye, how he jumps all over the stage like nobody's business, only to hit you once and escape before you have the time to react. And you know, I kinda like that. He stands out from the rest of the crowd, even if it's in a negative light. But I also can't deny how that also makes him so insane to play. It's like dude is Speedy Gonzalez who constantly messes with his opponents only to detonate when they least expect it. Also, I know I mentioned this before, but I love the names of his moves. Habanero Dash, Guacamole Leg, Fajita Buster, Enchilada Jump, Flying Nachos, Tostada Press. All of his moves sound as stereotype as delicious, and you know, I'm all down for that. El Fuerte might be a walking stereotype, but as a Mexican, he's a stereotype that at worst I find inoffensive, but at best, he's pretty charming in a hilarious way. He's a funny character I can look at and say, soy ese.
I'm ready for action!
From my personal experience, I barely see people talk about Hakan. And in a way, I can't blame them because he's not a very lore-heavy character, and for some people, he might just be there. But I don't know, I think what little he has is really damn cool. Hakan doesn't just have an incredibly unique design that makes him so recognizable at first glance. He has a cool fighting style nobody else has. Turkish shoulder wrestling. I didn't even know there was a thing until I played Hakan, but I think this fighting style gives him a very distinct feel in battle that is fun to use and entertaining to watch. I love seeing Hakan slide all over the field, and how he launches his opponents by squeezing them so hard they're sent flying thanks to his oil. I mean, he can literally shoot people out of his ass, how is that not incredible? Hakan doesn't have the biggest depth in terms of characterization. He's a man who wants to prove his fighting style is superior by fighting other people, but can also get along with other fighters, and most importantly, he's a devoted husband and loving father of 7 daughters. It's a very simple character trait, but one that always gets me no matter what. Also, his Turkish accent is so cool, god I love it so much. Also, Hakan canonically hates cigarettes, and that's something I can 100% relate to because... If I had to sum it up, I think the best way to do so is by saying Hakan is insanely fun, likable, and original. And sometimes, that's all you need to make a casual player say, wow, this guy is so cool, I'm gonna talk about him on my Street Fighter video just because he's so cool.
あんたの出番よ。
Hugo is a very special case. He honestly made it on this list because in the past, during my teenage years, I used to hate him. And no, I'm not talking about, no, I don't like this character. No. We are talking about me genuinely hating this character, right up there with Adon, who I desire nothing but the worst for him. I think this is because I used to find Hugo so unsettling to look at. The way he moves, his face, as well as his expressions, they were so off and even creepy to me. Not to mention just how annoying and scary he was to fight. Every time I would play Third Strike, he was the one character to ruin my perfect streak of no game overs. But over time, I wanna say I've come to appreciate him more and more, to the point where I can confidently say, I actually like this character! It's many things. The obvious inspiration on Andre the Giant, how he comes off as this idiot musclehead but in reality just wants to prove his worth. He's very fond of his mother, and I even love his cute relationship with Poison. And funny enough, his facial expressions and movements that used to creep the hell out of me, I actually like them now. They're still weird to look at, but I feel they help Hugo stand out even more in a positive way. And from a gameplay standpoint, I feel that with age I've come to like grapplers more and more. Something that eventually pushed me to try Hugo, and that's when I realized just how much fun I had with him. And it's so cool because his massive size makes him a vulnerable target, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like this unstoppable force that can end it all if I catch up with you. I honestly feel bad that I used to hate Hugo in the past, but if he made it on this list, that just goes to show how much I've come to appreciate him. He's great.
I'll show you the divide in our class.
We all have character types we're always fond of no matter what, right? For example, I love characters who are just regular dudes. I like characters who are mentor figures for other characters. I love parents who will do anything for their kids no matter what. But I think the funniest one for me is the rich anime girl character who has that laugh. I don't know why, but I have a weakness for that type of character, and Karin is no exception. It's the mannerisms and the dialogue that I find so hilarious. Even if her personality develops in Street Fighter V, she still retains some of those aspects that make her character archetype so amusing to me, and I love how that translates into her moveset, using a unique fighting style that combines other martial arts by delivering tons of different punches, throws, and counters. It is a moveset that is so versatile, looks elegant, but also feels good to play. How you can flow from one move to the next and it all feels so natural. So what else can I say? Karin has a fantastic design, a really fun moveset, and her personality is all the evidence you need on why I'm a fan of.
My iron body is invincible, so beware!
Zangief also has it a bit similar to Hugo. I didn't outright hate this character, but as a kid I wasn't exactly a fan of him. I don't know if it was because of his massive size or because he was always walking around in a speedo. And just like Hugo, I didn't like seeing his facial expressions, I found them so weird looking. As a kid, I thought Zangief was a villain alongside m.bison, and that's also another stupid reason as to why I wasn't too fond of him. But again, just like Hugo, over time I started to develop an appreciation for grapplers, and that's when I decided to give Zangief a chance, and wouldn't you know, the exact same thing happened? With Zangief, I just felt so powerful, so devastating. His inputs were hard as fuck to get right, but once I did, I found myself spinning pile driving people to no end. Zangief was actually the first character I ever defeated Akuma with in Street Fighter 2, so that's another good reason to like him so much. But honestly, the part about Zangief that captivated me the most was his personality. He went from someone I perceive as a villain to a lovable goofball. Zangief is a very fierce and competitive fighter, a feeling driven by his deep love for his country. He is very proud of his combat capabilities as well as his massive size, constantly pushing his opponents to bulk up so they can be more like him. Even though Zangief is short-tempered and very competitive, he also has a gentle nature side and can establish some nice relationships with other people, such as being kind of a mentor for our Mika and Laura, motivating them to become better wrestlers. He can even hold friendly rivalries with the Honda, Dudley, and El Fuerte. Outside of battles, Zangief is simply a regular person who enjoys regular hobbies such as reading, dancing, drinking vodka, and wrestling bears. Also, can I mention how much I love Zangief's main theme? Because I do, especially in Street Fighter 4. That's like the best version of his song. For all of these reasons, I think Zangief is one of the coolest Street Fighter characters of all time.
You win!
Chun-li is also a very unique case. In terms of gameplay, yeah, she's fun and I like playing as her, but she's not exactly my #1 choice whenever I play Street Fighter. But the reason as to why she's on this list is because she's a super likable character and is beyond iconic. But there is something more. You see, when I was very young, I grew up in a conservative country, in a conservative family, so you can imagine that I had certain mentalities when I was very, very young. One day at a restaurant in the kids area, they had an arcade machine with Street Fighter 2. That was my first exposure to the series. So once I managed to get a coin to play the game, I was looking at the roster and it was exactly what I would expect. Strong and burly men just like in any other media I was exposed to back then. And then there was Chun-li and... Remember, I was very young, but I found it very hard to wrap my head around that. A woman fighting against all these men in one-on-one fights, and they didn't pull any punches just because of her gender. And same thing with Chun-li, she was doing all these acrobatics and kicking people's ass. This was way before I found out Samus is a woman, or even before I knew who Lara Croft was. So in that sense, Chun-li shook everything I was taught in the early stages of my life. And I mean, in general, how can you not like Chun-li? She has an incredible design, interesting lore, and a lovable personality. She's courageous, dutiful, and caring. She's beyond iconic and a face that proudly represents the fighting game genre. That's why I didn't hesitate in mentioning her on this video. Back when Street Fighter V was about to release around late 2015, early 2016, that was the era when I was most dedicated to fighting games. So you can imagine, I was so crazy excited for Street Fighter V. Little did I know what was gonna happen. Maybe that's why I dropped fighting games. However, regardless of what happened, that doesn't mean I didn't get good stuff from SF5. And if I had to point out one character that made it all worth it is...
I am Rashid of the Turbulent Wind. Remember the name well.
Rashid was the character I wanted to try out the most in SF5, and once I did, he was everything I expected him to be. I was drawn in by his fantastic design, how unique it was despite its simplicity, and his laid-back, friendly personality helped him to quickly climb his way to become one of my favorite Street Fighter characters of all time. You know what else also helped him a lot? His character theme. I have no words to describe just how good it is. When that part hits... Oh god, it's so good. If I had to rank the themes of the story roster, I think Rashid's theme will tie with Balrog's theme. And that's quite an achievement, I wanna say. One more thing I like about Rashid is just how accessible he was for a newcomer like me. He was easy to pick up and play, but still challenging to master. But with some practice, I will find myself winning a few matches every now and then. And I just love how stylish and cool his moveset was, combining parkour techniques, acrobatics, and the ability to control winds. Every single thing about Rashid was amazing to me, and he was easily my fondest memory of Street Fighter V at launch. For whatever that's worth. I'm a believer that there are some characters who simply don't have any haters, and Elena is one of them. I mean, how can you potentially hate her? Elena is a bundle of optimism. She has a contagious personality that is hard not to love. She's smart, sociable, and open-minded. She's a cheerful and gentle soul and has a happy-go-lucky attitude that any aspect of her is bound to make you smile. And this is even reflected in lore. Thanks to her friendly personality, she doesn't have any real enemies, because all of her rivalries are on good terms, and she has an easy time befriending anyone she crosses paths with. I mean, she's able to befriend Akuma of all characters, let that sink in. but despite her friendly demeanor, she's still a strong fighter. I was also moved by the way in which she fights, using capoeira to kick her opponents by executing some fantastic dance-like moves. And just like Karin, this moveset is also so pleasing to watch, especially in Third Strike, where the sprite work is so immaculate. Just seeing Elena move is all you need to pick her. And yeah, the fact that she's fun and feels very good to play definitely helps her a lot. Honestly, what else can I add? I guess I can mention how much I love her character theme, which is surprising because this song, Beats in My Head, is repetitive beyond hell, but I never tire of it. That's honestly an achievement. But yeah, outside of that, I find Elena to be one of the most unique Street Fighter characters out there, in her design, in her fighting style, and she's just so lovable and fun to play. When I started to dive deeper into Street Fighter during my teenage years, she was one of those characters that just click with me in every aspect. I know I mentioned this in a recent video, but in the past few years I've seen people post these images of the final boss when you fight them, the final boss when you recruit him. This was used to talk about Ganondorf being an exception to that meme in Hyrule Warriors. So if we add another exception to the list, there is one Street Fighter character who comes to mind.
Ultra combo finish!
For the longest time, ever since I have memory of this series, Akuma has always been one of my favorite Street Fighter characters of all time. Where do I start? What I like so much about his personality is that, on the surface, Akuma might seem like nothing more but a relentless killing machine searching to destroy every fighter he comes across. And yeah, part of that is true, he is evil, but not in the same way as, say, m.bison. Underneath all that evil, Akuma is a proud warrior looking to hone his fighting skills even further by fighting equally powerful opponents. I think it's so cool how, despite being taken by evil, Akuma manages to keep a strong moral code, which is why he wouldn't hurt innocents or kill warriors who are not fighting at their fullest. Such as how he refused to continue fighting Gen when he found out the latter was fatally ill, or how he fights Zoro only to test his skills. I even like how he manages to keep a small glimmer of humanity, as shown through his interactions with Kazumi Mishima and Elena. And that's what I like about Akuma. He's not a pure chaotic evil wanting to take over the world. He's just a guy who wants to keep fighting strong people until he can find someone who can kill him in a fair fight at full power. No matter what game he's in, Akuma is a character I always favor no matter what. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, hell, the only time I ever played Tekken 7 was so I could play as Akuma. In Smash Bros, I will have taken Akuma over Ken as an Echo Fighter. I really like this character. It also helps that he's a Shoto, so he's very easy to understand. But still, whenever I land that Shun Gokusatsu on my opponent, that's all I need to remember why I love this character so much. After all that I just said, it makes you wonder, who can potentially beat Akuma at this point? Well, there is one character I like just a little bit more than Akuma. But before I get to that, I wanna go through some honorable mentions. Street Fighter just has that many cool characters, I just couldn't settle with 10. Mike Hagar. Yeah, I know he has never been playable in a Street Fighter game, but Final Fight takes place in the same universe, and he's playable in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He was actually one of my mains back in the day. I just love his wrestling moveset, how he shares some moves with Zangief, and even used siren pipes to smack his opponents. It is a shame he's never been playable in Street Fighter, especially after all the Final Fight characters we have gotten, because he's just that cool. Menat. I can't say much because I dropped SFI pretty early in its life, so I'll just say it straight. It's because of her design. I love it so much. I think it's beyond excellent. Maybe it's because she reminds me a bit to Tharja from Fire Emblem, but still, that design is so good I wouldn't mind giving her a chance if I ever touch 5 again. Or if she gets added to 6. Q. I love this guy. His entire personality is being mysterious, and that's all he needed to deserve a mention in this video. I'm also a huge fan of his moveset, because it's not a martial art or anything. Q just brute forces his way in a match. He's such a cool character. And that also includes the next person that could potentially be linked to him. G. Have you ever had a friend be genuinely passionate about a certain character and said passion rubs into you? I have this good friend who really adores G, so in a way that got me curious about the character, and honestly, I 100% understand why he likes him so much. Moving the links to Q aside, G is just so charismatic, he's so confident, but also has this power to move people, and his mysterious nature makes him all more fascinating of a character. So just like Menat, if I ever play 5 again or he's added to 6, I'll do an actual effort to use him. Yuri Han. Yeah, this is probably the basic bitch pick, but I don't care. There's a reason Yuri is so popular. That sadistic nature of her is just so appealing. Her design is one of the most iconic in the entire series, and personally, I think she's very fun to play as. Just not fun to fight against. Abel. I just like him. Like, there's not much science behind that. I think he has an interesting lore, I like his serene and calm personality, and he was one of the first grapplers I started to use. And I honestly enjoyed it a lot, so yeah, what else can I say? I like Abel, I think he's very cool, and I found a ton of fun while using him. Poison. Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girl Boss. Poison is just so iconic. She has that confident, dominating and sadistic personality I like so much. But unlike Yuri, Poison is capable of showing respect to her opponents, and even has a soft side she tends to show from time to time. Her relationship with Hugo, which I already mentioned, is the highlight for me, I just like it so much. But anyway, I think it's time I talk about my favorite Street Fighter character of all time.
Let's fight like gentlemen.
Dudley's just so good! Like, I don't think there is a single aspect of this character that I dislike. When I saw him for the first time, something about him just instantly clicked with me. His design, his personality, his fighting style. The more I got to know him, the more I was loving him. I'll admit Dudley has some bias for me, same way I love Karin because of her... For men, I'm a huge fan of the kind, gentleman personality. And Dudley is exactly that. He's polite and gentle, behaves in an impeccable way, and tends to have a ton of respect for his opponents. Except Balrog. But even with that, Dudley's traits are so excessive they also come off as hilarious sometimes. Like how he entered the World Warrior tournament to get his card back, or how he never takes his boxing gloves off no matter what. His moveset is very simple, he fights by boxing, but I like how different it feels from Balrog, the other Street Fighter boxer. Dudley's style is a reflection of his personality, executing moves with a ton of finesse. I love this moveset because it feels so fast and devastating. He has so many options to mix up his combos, but all of them feel so good to land on the opponent. I even like how he has some moves to mess up mentally with his foes, like feints, ducks, even lowering his guard to counter them, and can even finish them off by throwing a rose at their faces. During my teenage years, when I was genuinely trying to get better at fighting games, Dudley was simply my #1 character to choose from. I'll put it like this. He is the only character I ever defeated Gil with, and for a casual player, that honestly made me feel so proud. That just goes to show how much I like this character. I seriously wanted to get better with him. Also, I have a fun story related to Dudley. So, you know his main theme, right? You blow my mind. Oh my god, I love that song. So, one night I went out with my friend and he had his group of friends. And it was a pretty pleasing night, and we were drinking, and once everyone started to get drunk, I started to pull out the classic one of getting drunk people to subscribe to my channel. So there was this one guy who was very, he actually really wanted to subscribe to my channel, and he told me, hey, can you search on my phone for me? And when I searched on YouTube, on the search bar, his last search was Dudley Street Fighter 3 theme, you blow my mind. And it was like, dude, oh my god, you fucking love Dudley! Yes, he's one of my favorite characters, dude! And we were like, oh my god, talking about Street Fighter 3, how much we like Dudley, and all of that. And that was like kind of how the rest of the night went. Basically, I made a new friend in a nightclub because of Dudley. How many characters can make you say that? For all of this, and many more reasons, I think you can tell why Dudley just barely manages to surpass Akuma, and why he is, for me, the coolest Street Fighter character of all time. I made this video because, even though fighting games are not my specialty, I like that they've still been able to give me some genuinely good stuff, from memories with friends, and new characters to love if this video wasn't obvious enough, and even achieve some things that to this day I remember fondly. So that's why I always recommend people to step out of their comfort zone to try something new, because you never know. Even if they're not like your new favorite thing, there is always something good to get out of, trying new stuff. With fighting games, again, I'm no expert, no professional or anything, but I respect them and I love learning new stuff about them every single day. But no matter how many years pass, there is one thing I still don't understand. What the fuck does plus unblock mean? Anyway, are you big into fighting games? Are you good? Bad at them? Which Street Fighter characters are your favorites? Please let me know all of that in the comments. And as usual, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to support the channel, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, Patreon, or even checking my other videos, that will mean so much to me. Have a wonderful day and take care. I'll see you next time.